Well, hello everybody. My name is Laurie Smith. This is a Survivor Weekend check-in video, and just going to sit here and chat for a little bit. And uh, I do have a topic I wanted to talk about today. Sort of sitting around thinking about it last night and today, and that is sort of what to do and how to handle sort of when people who are not abused, or even if they were abused, will say things like, "Can't you just get over it? You should be healed by now. How come it's taking you so long to let this go," sort of thing. People who sort of try to, "Hi, Melissa, how are you? I hope you're okay." I'm just talking about sort of the issue when people will say things like, "Can't you just get over it? Was it really that bad?" Or, "You should be healed by now," this sort of thing, to survivors of abuse. And how I deal with it, because I hear that quite a bit in my circles. I hear, not my friends, my real friends would never say that to me because they care about me and they know, my healing journey takes as long as it takes, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. um, a person's healing journey is really their own. Only only that individual can make that decision. A person seeing a counselor, a therapist, or a psychotherapist, or things like that, they generally work together to, you know, closely, so that at some point maybe they might say, I'm making progress. I feel much better than I used to. I think I'm somewhat, healed. Well, that's their determination, right? So to say to somebody, you should be healed by now, or just get over it, I did, or put it behind you, I did. It sort of makes survivors of abuse feel a little bit sort of almost bad, because it's kind of like putting a person down because they haven't moved past it or weren't able to move past it. And the reason I do these shows is because I have moved past most of my stuff. There's a few issues I still work on, but most of my real grief work, anger work, that's all been done. And obviously, I'm in a good place right now. But I like to do these shows because so many survivors of abuse will have, people in their lives who are so-called friends, or and family members. It's always, if people growing up in a dysfunctional family like I did, I can't trust anything my family members tell me because it's all toxic. So, um, and sometimes friends can be, without even meaning to, they might not mean to hurt a survivor of abuse, but they think they're doing them a favor by saying, well, you should just let that go, just move past it. Well, the reason that trauma survivors cannot just let that go is because it's trauma. it, it presents itself in many ways, psychologically, physiologically in the body, and mentally, emotionally. I mean, in so many ways. So it's not something you can just let go of. It's kind of like, it's just not. It doesn't work that way. So, and sometimes people say that not meaning to be mean. I think, sometimes people say things like that because they really do care about a person, and they really do care, and they want them to feel better. They want them to be better. They want them to experience, a good life, and not, you know, be depressed about their past and sort of thing. So they almost sometimes will say that just because they're trying to help. It's not necessarily that they're trying to be, mean or anything like that. Hi, Eva. Oh, my beautiful friend. How are you? I'm so glad to see you. I hope you're all right. I love you dearly, my friend. We've been friends for a long time. I've got Andrea here, and oh, that's okay. Well, these will be here if you want to watch them. And if there's a time that works better for people, you can always let me know. I just put 12 noon Mountain Standard Time, but if you really think an evening show would be better or something, you can send me a message at my website, or you can contact me at my Gmail, authorlaurieannsmith@gmail.com. Yeah, author. I'll put it in. I'll type it in here, actually. You can contact me if you have questions, or if I can help you find information. I'm always willing to do that. Gmail. There we go. You can always contact me. And if you have suggestions for show topics or whatever, this is just a Survivor Weekend check-in. Check in with survivors who may not have anybody to talk to. They're sitting around feeling lonely and dealing with things that are very hard. Maybe their therapist counselor offices are closed. You're welcome, Andrea. I'm willing to talk to anybody, and you can send me an email. If you have questions or if you need help finding resources or anything, I'm willing to help. Because I know how it is. Many times we're just so isolated, and it's hard to find that. It's sometimes hard to find information, right? So yeah, just contact me if you want to. And but I'm just I know how it was when I first started my healing journey, and what a lonely place I was in my own headspace with all of this horrible stuff. And as soon as I started reaching out to people and, reaching out to survivors of abuse, that's what I'm talking about, like survivor groups and stuff, all these hands started reaching out to me and they were like, you can do this. We've got you. And it was wonderful to have that support. And so I like to just do what I can in my time, my free time to try to help people out because I know how hard it is. And so that's what we're talking about today is, I think sometimes people, they don't mean to be mean, but they say things like, just get over it, or can't you just get over it, or you should be moving on in your healing journey. Can't you just let it go? I let it go. And so many survivors will say stuff like that. Well, I've let it go, so you should let it go. And I even see some comments on my stuff here just recently about that. I'm not offended by it. Because I think that person those people that say things like that aren't necessarily saying it to be mean, but they don't realize that it doesn't work that way. And, many times, like all of us are in our own place in our healing journey. Some of us just starting, some of us in the middle, some of us at the end, but we're still working on some things. That's kind of like me. And, there's still some things I need to work through. And, but I'm in a much better place than I ever have been, that's for sure. And but I don't just tell people you should just put it past you, just move on, because what that does is that sort of tells people, survivors of abuse, to go ahead and stuff it all again and just move past it, and that creates a problem later. All of this stuff has to be dealt with at some point because it will come out eventually at some point, and that's what happens when I guess they call this when a person gets to the survivor of abuse, I'm talking, gets to the point where all of a sudden it's not manageable and all of their trauma starts to come to the surface. Things they never thought of till since the abuse happened will start to arise, kind of come up to the surface, and all of a sudden they're remembering things, maybe having all sorts of issues, maybe PTSD, anxiety, this type of stuff. It eventually will come up to the surface. 40 years old, it doesn't matter how old you are. It could be 30, you could be 25, it could be 50. This all happened to me throughout my life, but I had my lowest point at the age of 42, and they say that's actually quite common for abuse survivors. And yeah, it's so hard. Like so many of us are, know how hard it is, and it's a tough place to be. So, like, we're all in our different, areas within our healing journey, and so sometimes people who have done a lot of healing work and actually feel great, feel like they've totally healed, will sometimes say stuff like, "Oh, just move past it," because they want you to feel good. They want you to be better. I don't think it's to be mean. Most of the time, it's not done out of spite or trying to be mean. I think it's just that they want you to feel good too. So they'll say stuff like that. I generally just ignore it because I know where it's coming from. They probably do care, and they do just want you to get over it. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works. You have to get help with this stuff, whether it's group support, counselor, one-on-one telephone consultation, whatever it is, or even just working by, through it on your own, which a lot of people do. A lot of my work I did on my own, and so I'm in support groups, which was helpful, and 2 different support groups actually, the ACA and the Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. That was a great support group, and the SIA, Survivors of Incest Anonymous. That was another great support group that I really liked. And the reason I like those 2 groups is because they have a governing board. They've been around for a long time. They're not for profits. They have set guidelines and rules to keep the survivor safe. So I felt very safe in those groups because I knew that it was all run very safely, and that it was run. There's a format, and people in the group have to abide by the rules of the format. Otherwise, you just can't belong to the group. And I like that because that means safety. That means nobody can attack you because you're sharing something. Let's say I'm sharing something very, very deeply traumatizing, and I'm sharing it with the group, and then somebody attacks me for some reason. That's not allowed in those groups. So that's why I like those two groups, the ASCA and SIA. ASCA, you can get their information. I'll type it in here. That's the ASCA, Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, and you can get their, you can contact them. But their website is https www.ascasupport.org. You can get their Survivor to Thrive workbook for free there. And also, and SIA, World Serve, that's a SIA. That's Survivors of Incest Anonymous World Serve Office. That's another good group. That's not just for incest. It's or sexual abuse. It's also called sexual abuse as well. So it's not just only for incest survivors. And so those two groups I like for that reason. They're very safe, and the meetings are run very safe, and I like that. I think it's great. There might be other good ones out there too, but those are the two that I know of that I really trust the format and the way that it's run. So I think those are really, really good. And I used to run those two groups. I used to have one for the ASCA and one for survivors of incest. I actually just put a message on my YouTube at the discussion. Well, not, it used to be called discussion. Now it's called community. But I put a link there because an actual message there today, because I'm going to start up, as long as they'll allow me to, I'm going to start up another ASCA support group. And it'll be an online group through Skype. So anybody can use Skype, and you don't even have to download it now because they have that meetup situation where you can, I can just send you the link, you know, send a person the link to join the meeting. And if you want to join the meeting, let's say you did want to be part of it, I could send out that link to everybody prior to the meeting, so you don't even have to download Skype. But it's a video format that I use, and I've done that before because the audio, like this being like on a telephone, it's kind of unsafe because you don't know who's there. You don't know, you could be in a room with 10 people. I just think it's very unsafe for the other survivors in the group. Also, because when you go to an ASCA support group meeting, let's say in your own city, let's say your city has one and you sign up and you want to go, you're there in person with these people, face to face. And I think it's really important. There are online telephone groups that do meet online. The SIA, Survivors of Incest Anonymous, has one of those. And that's great for people that don't want to do video. And, you know, so I think it's important. And Eva was saying that music is good therapy for the soul. It is. I find music very, very helpful because it depends on what I'm going through to what kind of music I listen to. So, you know, if I'm feeling really down, I'll put on certain music, and it helps me to feel those feelings that I need to feel and go through those feelings and release that stuff, you know, so that I'm not carrying it around. And also, you know, that if I'm feeling good and I'm feeling really comfortable and happy, then I'll listen to other types of music. I'm very much into music. I'm trying to learn how to play guitar. It's taken me a long time. I really am horrible. That's why I won't play for anybody just yet because I'm still working on it. But so it's a long haul. It's fun to play though, and I do enjoy practicing. That's another good therapy. Finding something that you like to do. It doesn't have to be music. Could be anything. You know, could be journaling. I did a lot of journaling. It's very helpful for my healing journey. I did a lot of like private journaling that nobody saw. I didn't post it. You know what I mean? I did a lot of, you know, I've done a lot of public work, but my journals are my own. You know, I did a lot of I did some drawing and some sketching, some art type stuff. What else did I do? All sorts of things. I've tried lots of different things, and many things were very helpful. I found it's kind of whatever you feel is going to help you out. If you like to paint or draw, if you're into clay, you know, or pottery, or working with clay. Some people are into woodworking, you know, working with leather, you know, all sorts of things. So jewelry making, and you know, for the guys, it could be just anything. You know, working with stuff in the garage, you know, just things that bring you peace and comfort, and you know, make you feel better. There's lots of things that can help us out, right? But yeah, that's just the thing. If somebody comes to you and tells you, you know, can't you just get over it? Don't take that personally. You don't even, you know, you can respond how you're going to respond. I usually don't respond to those people. I just let them say their thing and let them move on. Because my real friends would never tell me that. They'd never say, can't you just get over it? My real friends that have known me for years, I mean, I've got friends that I still in contact from my youth, would never tell me that. They're stuck with me. They put up with me and my abuse stuff. My friends that I've met in later life in my adult years would never tell me that. Can't you just get over it? They actually try to be really caring, and some of them have never been abused. They weren't abused, thank God, right? And they never shut me out. Like they never just pretend that I wasn't abused. And sometimes they even sometimes will bring things up, and like especially around the holidays, they'll be like, "Well, we love you. You don't have any family, and we know where you come from. We support you." And I've got some really good friends that I'm really thankful for, who would never tell me, "Can't you just get over it?" You know. But I think that that coming from people that don't know you very well, that just kind of maybe an acquaintance or somebody you sort of know, but you don't really know that well, they might just be trying to help. So I wouldn't take it in a bad way. When I was younger, and I would have took something like that in a bad way because I would have been like, you don't want to tell me that. I'm not the person to tell that to. And now I'm kind of like, you know what? No, I see where some people in their heart they really do care, and they just want you to feel better. So they'll say stuff like, just go, just get over it, just move on, let it go, let it go. I like that. What's really funny, and I won't name names because I don't think that's very nice, is I know of some support people who will say stuff like that to the general public because they follow their work, and they'll say, just let it go. And then 6 months later, they're having a meltdown crisis about their abuse. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, for the person that just told the 20 million viewers to let it go, that's why I never say stuff like that. Never. I've never done any video on here where I've come on and said, oh, I'm great, you can be like me. It's like, no. Because things have, this is the issue. We're all people and we're all healing at a different rate. And, I do have times where I feel pretty good, but I'm not going to come on, I'm not going to just tell people, oh, you can get over it. This stuff is so incredibly hard. We may go through periods of time in our life where we feel good and we aren't, the abuse that we suffered doesn't seem to be affecting us too much. And then all of a sudden something will come up or too many things will happen and all of a sudden we're back down into it, might be triggered by something. And just, then we're not doing so good. It was kind of like, oh, I was doing good, but now I'm not doing good. So life is hard. And especially coming from, like I always say, behind the eight ball, which means, coming from a life of abuse, child abuse, and of any type. Doesn't matter what kind. I mean, child abuse is child abuse, and it's all very hurting and damaging and very, very hard to get over. So, and, oh, that's not good, Melissa. That's terrible. Yeah, you got to be careful journaling just to make sure. Keep it safe. You have to keep it hidden away, really, if you don't want people to get a hold of it. For me, my stuff is, safe. Nobody's going to come and get my stuff and, whatever. I've actually destroyed a lot of that stuff. I wrote letters to my abusers, which I never gave them because they were passed away. But I still wrote them letters, and I read them to an empty chair as if they were sitting there out loud and told them exactly what I thought. And those letters I did destroy. And because I didn't want anybody to get a hold of that stuff. I was like, if I pass away or something, nobody needs to read that. They just throw them away anyway. The issue is keep your information safe from people that will use it to hurt you. If you know somebody in your life that you would, some people you don't even know if they would do something like that until they do it. Like, it's so sad what people do. But just be careful with who you deal with and who you have around you. Like, you got to be aware of how people are. That's the whole setting boundaries thing of what you'll tolerate, what you won't tolerate in your life. Like I was very, like I said, I worked on setting boundaries for years. It took me like quite a while to really learn how to set boundaries, what I will accept, what I won't accept. And those boundaries are really important so that you don't be re-victimized and you're not taken advantage of, and it's not okay, right? So you need to protect yourself. But then again, we don't want to put up those walls. Like, I had walls, and I still probably do have some walls there that I don't even think about. But putting up walls to isolate yourself to the point where then you can't get any help, because that's no good either. is a balance. I think it's learning to recognize toxic behavior from people. You have to be really careful if you think somebody's, um, I think somebody's okay. If they start exhibiting toxic behavior, you got to really question that relationship with that person. Is it worth it to keep them around in your life if they're going to just hurt you or take advantage of you or, this sort of thing? It's not, because there's no excuse for abuse. I always say that. You can go back and watch any of my videos. There's no excuse for abuse, and we don't have to take it. We don't have to, but we do have to learn how to set those boundaries of what we will accept in our life and what we won't. As far as relationship stuff goes, very important, right? And so, because you don't need more trauma. You really don't need to be victimized more. Like as an adult, that's not okay, right? And there are a lot of abusive people out there. Some of them don't even know they're doing it. They don't realize that they're toxic. They don't realize that what they're doing is wrong because they're messed up. You know what I mean? So it's just important to keep people around you that are healthy, I'm talking about healthy in relationship stuff. They understand boundaries. They're not going to take advantage of you. They're not going to hurt you. If they do end up hurting you, they're going to apologize. I've hurt people before. I've done stuff that's hurt people before. We're talking like in a friendship type thing. I've said something or, whatever, done something that a friend really took an offense to. And I felt really bad. Because I didn't realize at the time what I was doing. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I had to apologize, you know, sincerely apologize to my friends, you know what I mean? Because over the years, it does happen. Nobody's perfect. But the thing is then what I do is remember that and I don't do it again, you know, because that's how I want people. I'll give people a chance. And I mean, because that's how I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm not expecting people are going to be perfect around me because I'm not perfect. But the thing to do is remember if somebody does hurt you and they don't apologize and they don't care, that's not going to be somebody you want to have around because they're going to continually do that and they think their behavior is fine. You know, that's an issue. That's a real problem, especially for adult survivors of abuse, right? And for myself, I mean, I'm not perfect. I've hurt people and I have to apologize to these people. And I'm like, look, I'm really sorry. And, um, I'm going to change my behavior so I don't do that again. It's a good learning lesson for me, see? And if you're willing to, that's about the only way you can mature as a person on this planet is to realize that, yeah, we do, not all of us, nobody here is perfect. We're all just living our lives, you know what I mean? But we can be good to people and not hurtful. And if we do hurt somebody, even if it was an accident, let's just say, you didn't mean to say that or you didn't mean it to come across like that or whatever, we can make it right, and that shows that you care. Because obviously, if you're going to make it right, you're going to apologize. And it's kind of like, I do care. I love this friend of mine. I do care. I want to repair the relationship. But if the person just, let's say somebody does something to me like that, um, I'll give them a second chance. But then if they don't apologize and they don't try to make it right and they really show that they are sorry that they did hurt me and that they want to change it, I just cut them off. I'm like, okay, goodbye, because I don't need that. I don't need toxic stuff in my life. I actually refuse to have it around me. So I won't allow anybody in my life that's going to be abusive in any way, shape, or form. My boundaries are really set. So it's really important to do that work. So, yeah. Oh, hi, Marilla. How are you? Yeah, these things are so hard. I know it's so difficult. And, you know, I always just encourage people, don't struggle on your own. Get some help of some sort. And, you know, good support group, anonymous support group, you know, because these things are really hard. And we shouldn't have to suffer on our own with this stuff. That's why I do these shows, because I'm like, I know there's so many survivors out here. And hi, Suzanne. I'm glad you could be here. Yeah, I cut all my family off actually because they don't support me in any way, shape, or form. And when they are around me, they're so toxic. It creates me to be toxic because I'm like, I'm not tolerating that anymore. And so I said, that's it. 2010, I cut them off. So that's a long time ago. Um, And I'm glad that I did. I made the right decision because I know who I am and I know what I will allow in my life, what I won't allow. I got no apologies for their toxic behavior. I apologize to them, well, two of my family. I don't have very much family left, actually. There's only two people left in my family, my whole entire family, from my biological family. So I'm the youngest, so people have dropped off. And, I had to apologize to them for my behavior. And I was like, look, I'm sorry. I want to be a better person. I'm on a healing journey. But they would not apologize to me. And there was one of my sisters was like, well, I'm glad you're on your healing journey. I wish I could be on my healing journey. And I'm like, well, you could, not together because that's not recommended actually unless you go to family counseling. But I told her you could do a healing journey if you wanted to, and maybe she is. I hope so. And but the thing is, we can't even be around each other. We're just too toxic. And when we cut ties, it was the best thing for both of us. And for me, my sister, she's 5 years older than me. We were never close, and so what can you do? It's really unfortunate, but it's just to have somebody in your life who's going to continually abuse you, no matter what way it is, emotionally, psychologically, um, that's not okay. It's not okay. Just to have that relationship, I see people do it. I see friends do it. Friends will allow others to treat them horribly just so that they don't feel alone. And for me, you don't have to be alone. You can find good people, but it does take time. So you might be alone for a little while, not have too many friends, or might be completely on your own, not have one friend. But the thing is what you do is then you start reaching out to survivor groups where people are going to treat you with respect, with care, with dignity, because that's what you really truly deserve. They're going to, that's what we need in our lives. We need to be treated with respect, the normal respect that humans should give to another, common decency, respect, being treated with care, and, just that common decent treatment from one human being to another. We deserve that, right? We have to be that person too in order to get that back. Um, you know, so we have to watch keep ourselves in check as well. You know what I mean? But that's how it works. And you can develop really great friendships, but it does take time. And sometimes it's lonely. That's why I always tell people, hey, you know what? There's anonymous support groups out there. Just get a hold of them, you know? And it's just so hard. Yeah, oh boy, that's tough. It's so hard, Amarillo. I'm so sorry for what you've been through. And I'm 55 now, and I mean the stuff that we've all been through is just it's insane. And that's why I'm saying we should reach out and get help. We shouldn't be suffering on our own, struggling with this stuff. Sometimes we kind of have to for a little while until we get things situated. But joining even an anonymous support group is good if you can, and you know, just to have somebody to talk to. They don't have to even know your real name. That's the beauty of that. They don't even have to know. The moderator of the group might want to know you have to have your first name, last name, whatever. But in the group, you can actually be anonymous with a fake name. You can also call those support lines that are like telephone hotlines for survivors of abuse. And you don't have to tell those people anything. You can just talk to them. You don't have to be alone. You know what I mean? You can get support, and it's tough to reach out at first. I know it was for me, and it's that first, making that first step of contacting that person and thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna have to like work on my healing journey. It's like that the thought of that was very shocking for me when I first started my healing journey. This was before I started doing all the public speaking and all of this. I was like really nervous about the whole thing. And I'm so glad that I did, because the very first day, the moderator of the group, it was an online support group and it was anonymous. The moderator showed me all kinds of resources and great stuff that was very helpful for me. And she was like, you didn't deserve to be abused. None of us do. None of us did. You deserve help and healing. And she was so good. And she was just such a nice lady. I'll never forget that. And I never met her. Don't know who she is. She's out there somewhere. Probably she's still alive. Probably still helping people. And I thought, how awesome is that? All of a sudden, I realized I can do this. I can get support. I can get help. But some people don't want to do the group support thing, and they'll do, one-on-one counseling, therapist type stuff, and that's totally up to each individual. You know what I mean? Everybody has different needs, different ideas of what would really help them out, and what they need. Right? We're all different. And so for me, support group was the way to go, but not for everybody. I mean, some people do want a counselor and a therapist, and that's fine. And it's just important to get help and not struggle on our own with this stuff because it's very painful. And I know for me, working through this stuff, I've been doing this for a long time now. I've been on my healing journey since 2007, but I didn't even start the bulk of the stuff till 2009. So, but still, even 2009 to 2021, that's a long time. I've made a lot of progress. And well, thank you, Lou Nero. I appreciate you being here. And thank you very much. I hope they're helpful. I was trying to reach the general public as well because, so the general public will know how damaging child abuse really is. And I wanted to be honest in those videos. And some of them are pretty sort of shocking almost. But I think it's really important to be honest. And but I'm hoping that survivors of abuse will kind of watch more of or listen to the one child abuse survivor stuff because that's really more of the healing journey stuff. Born in Hell series was a series that I did for my website, Born in Hell, and that was to kind of showcase my books mainly. I don't even take the money for my books. I actually donate the money for my books because I don't want the money. It's like no, I actually refuse to take the money for my books, so I donate it to groups that stop and prevent child abuse. So it makes me feel good. But I wanted people to know how damaging the general public to know how damaging child abuse is. And that something's got to be done. And also I wanted survivors to know that, hey, you did not deserve that. Neither did I. And we deserved so much better. And we did. We're sitting here having to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives, of stuff that happened to us that was not our fault. And I want the general public to know how hard that is for survivors of abuse. And I want survivors to know, get help. Don't suffer on your own. Man, there's a lot of good help out there, but you just got to reach out for it. And, find some. And if you find a group that you think is good and you join it and you don't like it, move on to another group because there's always going to be something that's, not necessarily good for each one of us. We're all different, right? So just keep looking till you find out what actually works for you. Whatever it is, right? So hi, Shannon. I'm glad you could be here. And I need this too because as a survivor of abuse, I don't have, except for my survivor friends online, personally in my city. Well, I do have one person in my city that is a survivor, but that I know of. I know there's tons of us here, but they don't reach out to me, and maybe they don't see my stuff. You know what I mean? But I don't have other survivor friends that I can just, sit and talk to and share this stuff with. So I do online, lots and lots of survivor friends online. And on my Facebook page, tons of my Facebook friends are survivors of abuse. So that's why they hook up with me because they know I'm a survivor. And so, I always welcome people to hook up with me on Facebook. I'm Laurie.smith.calgary. You can contact, I love having friends on Facebook. And you're always welcome to look me up there. Because I post a lot on Facebook, but I don't post a lot of my stuff because I don't want to burn out my friends with my survivor stuff. So I do have a page called One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. It's a Facebook page, and that's where I post all this kind of survivor stuff on there. And I just know how hard it is, to be struggling on our own with this stuff and going through different times in my life where I felt so much shame from the abuse. And different periods, different times, feeling different things. So much anger sometimes, so much depression sometimes, so much shame, just different things, and how hard it is to be dealing with that. So that's why I do these, so that you'll know you're not alone. Sadly enough, there's so many of us out here, it's ridiculous. And that there's some good people out here. There's also some people that you have to watch out for. Be careful who you share your information with. Trying to get to know a group before you start, to make sure you're going to be comfortable in a group. You know what I mean? You could just say to the group moderator, I want to attend a couple meetings to see how this group is and to see if I'm going to, get along in this group with the people if you decide to do something like that, and make sure it's something that's going to be good for you. Like I always say, if you find a therapist and he's not working out, or he, um, you know, you have to ask them if they know anything about child abuse and if they know anything about adult survivors of child abuse. Because if they don't, if that's not what's in their, if that's not in their training, they're not going to be able to help you. Most likely, they won't even understand where you're coming from if they have no training on that. So many times, there's therapists out there's all sorts of different therapists out there, psychotherapists and stuff. So you got to find one that actually knows about child abuse and about adult survivors of child abuse, whether or not they've ever helped anybody who was a child abuse survivor. Right? So important. Whatever the issues are, you just want to make sure that you reach out, get some help, no matter what kind it is, what works for you. Because what works for me doesn't work for everybody. That I do know. And yeah, it's so sad in Murillo. I know that's so many people, understand this stuff, and that's why I put it out here for people, because I know that many times survivors, they need someone to relate to, almost to validate where they've been. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of survivors of abuse don't want. They'll do private group, but they would never tell the public that they've ever been abused. They would never tell anybody that they know that they've ever been abused, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And for me, it's more about community. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to hide away, who I am. Right? And abuse, that's not all I am. I'm not just an abuse survivor, child abuse survivor. I'm a real person with a real life. But the thing is that for me, I thought if I go quietly and do group support and I don't reach out to survivors around me, which is what I had intended to do quite early on in my healing journey, because I got involved with Dream Catchers for Abused Children, and we were doing public speaking. We were doing all sorts of things. We got to go to a film festival in California and do a video, it was almost a part of a movie thing for to stop and prevent child abuse. It was wonderful to be a part of that. And I knew that I wanted to reach out to lots of people who are hurting and struggling. So this is why I went this route. But just because somebody doesn't, that's okay. That's whatever you need. That's what I say. So I did post in that community post that I'm gonna. I contacted the ASCA, Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, to see if they'll let me come back on as a facilitator of a group, because I did that before. And like I said, I had to let it go because my husband was passing away and it was so stressful. I was under a tremendous amount of stress. And not only that, but my health was going. I had cancer, and it was skin cancer, but it was bad. And I mean, they were like, we got to remove that. That's not good. It was making me really sick, really, really sick. And then I had all last year, high blood pressure, 200 over 186 or something. Terrible, terrible. Even with meds, they were like, don't have a stroke. I was like, well, no, I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. So that's what I did last year, very much. I just took it easy. And so I'm ready to get started again. So if anybody is wanting to join a group, you're more than welcome to contact me if you want more information, if you want to actually be part of it. This is it, Shannon, that's the whole issue, child abuse. It's like, I did too. I grew up with two parents, but I really felt it is an abandonment, really. Child abuse is a form of abandonment, right? Neglect and abandonment. Even if it's more than that, that's a big part of it. And it's these feelings. These are so hard to deal with. It really is, and that's why it is important to get help. It really is. So hopefully, you'll reach out and get some help. I'm glad that you're here. It's wonderful. I really appreciate the support, and I hope that these are helpful for you in some way. You know what I mean? Even just to be somebody to talk to that knows where you've been. Because man, it's tough. It really is. And like I said, we all do. We need to be our own best advocates and take good care of ourselves and get the help that we need in all our areas of life. Our immediate life, our immediate surroundings, environment, help with our past child abuse issues, whatever we're dealing with in this life, we really shouldn't be trying to do it on our own. It's too hard. And we do need community. We do need people. We don't, and survivors of abuse are quite often isolated because they've been hurt badly by the people that were supposed to love and care for them many times. Sometimes it's stranger danger. Sometimes it's, a neighbor, you know what I mean? Any number of issues. But 95% of abuse and child abuse happens in the home. That's where the bulk of it's happening. It's usually if somebody that knows the child, has access to the child. So it's generally parents, caregivers, things like that. And so, then okay, we've been wounded as children. What do we do as adults? We're quite often isolated because we don't want to be wounded any further. Maybe feel, with these trust issues, you can't trust people. That was me. That's why that's why I did what I did going public with my stuff, because I'm like, I'm going public. The world needs to know about this because, I didn't want to just go to a therapist. I don't trust one-on-one at all. So, for that kind of stuff, I was like, no group support for me, and I'll just tell the whole world about what happened. But that's just what I did. Not everybody does that. Not everybody can, right? And oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, my husband, he was a very big help to me, and he wasn't abused, and he was a good role model for me because he was emotionally well. He was emotionally sound, so he could really help me to. He helped me gain a lot of confidence in my daily life, of getting through things and realizing that it's not all a catastrophe. I can do this, and he was just really supportive, even though he wasn't abused, and he didn't know what I went through. That in that regard, he could see the aftermath of the abuse and the trouble that I had in my adult walk, trying to learn how to live as an adult in this world. It was very difficult, and he could see that. He really tried to be a good support through the whole thing. When I wrote my books and stuff, he wasn't part of me writing the books. I did that all myself. But he was just so supportive of everything that I was doing. The online groups, anything, all the blog talk radio shows. He was here. He was sick. He was very, very sick for 17 years, and he just supported everything I wanted to do. And he was just like, you just do your thing, and I'm happy for you, and you're making progress, and So thank you very much. I'm glad he's not suffering anymore, because that was a real sadness for me, and especially the last year, his health got so bad. I mean, I won't even go into details, but the thing is just watching him suffer like that was bringing me a lot of sorrow and a lot of pain myself, because I could see what he was going through, how difficult it was for him just to try to live another day. I felt so sorry for him. And so when he did go, a part of the whole thing was peace. I did experience some peace because, he's no longer suffering, but then I miss him. So it's a double-edged sword. I'm happy he's not suffering, but I'm also not happy because he's not here. But hey, that's life. We don't, like I said, we don't get to stay. And we have to do the best thing we can every day while we're here to have a good life, and to get help, reach out, so hard to reach out, I know, and because I have a problem doing it too. That's why I'm on here doing these shows, because I want people to know, we can do it, but we need to do it. Anybody can reach out, right? But the issue is that many times survivors won't, and that's why I do these shows, because a lot of times it's hard for me to make those phone calls. It's hard for me to contact individuals and say, hey, I need help. Because I'm used to just doing it myself. I'm like, no, I'm a survivor. I'm an island unto myself, man. I can take it. I'll get through it. Look, from where I've come from, which is a horrible situation, being abused as a child. I mean, I am doing well, but the thing is then I have a hard time reaching out for help. So that's why I do these shows, because I'm like, we need to reach out for help, not just you. I do, right? So when I'm struggling, I need to reach out and I need to get help. So that's just so important. And these things are so hard, and that's just so sad, because some of the comments here, it's just stuff that you just shake your head, because that happened in school for me too, because I had a couple of paddlings myself. But what they didn't realize was the reason that I was the way I was is what they didn't care to ask or find out was that I was being abused. So I was being abused at school and being abused at home. And I didn't, wasn't happy anywhere. I wasn't happy at school or at home because I was just, not being treated right. And that's not right. That's not okay. It did cause me to have a lot of negative feelings about myself. And I thought, for many years, I just felt like, you know, life was no good. Why should I keep going? Doesn't matter. That was in my teens. But as I got older, I thought, no, I want to have a good life. I do. I need to learn how to do this. Sadly enough, like I said, many of us so many of us, so many millions of us are coming from a place where we did not get that information. We don't quite have the information that we need to be a healthy adult on the planet. And that's why the world is in such a horrible, horrible place. Because there's so many people out there that need help, but they'll never get it. They'll just continue on in their very dysfunctional ways of living, which is really bad. That's what I watched my parents do, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. No, I'm going to get help, and that's what I've done. But it's taken a lot of work and a lot of time, a lot more time than some people would think is necessary. But that's what I said. Almost on every show, I always say, all of our healing journeys are different. Some people maybe it doesn't take too long for them to heal, and that's great. And others, it takes a long, long time, and that's okay. You don't have to feel bad. The issue is it takes as long as it takes, and that's what I've heard from so many professionals, therapists, counselors. Because I talk to counselors and therapists, I just don't go to them, but I do hear from them, and they actually do contact me because of what I do. And I've actually run into some counselors and therapists, and they've said, it takes as long as it takes. As long as you're on your healing journey, and you're working toward feeling better, getting things better, situated in your life so that you can actually have a decent life, that's great, you know? So it takes as long as it takes. So, don't stress yourself out about, I should be better by now, or I shouldn't be feeling these things, or, you know what I mean? No, don't put that pressure on yourself. That's not okay. And yeah, no. So if anybody's interested, needs information, you can contact me. And I did put my email address in the chat there. And if you want more information about the ASCA, that's there as well. And I did, like I said, I just signed up again, so we'll see if they approve me. Hopefully, otherwise I won't be able to do one for them. But we'll see how that goes. But if they do, and anybody's interested in joining, I know how to facilitate those meetings because I've done it before. I actually took part in their online teaching, and it was like a 3-day online teaching and stuff like that. So I've done that whole ASCA work. I actually know I'm pretty comfortable doing that. I've done it not enough of it to be pretty comfortable. And so if anybody's interested and wants to get involved in an online video Skype group, you can contact me. Otherwise, you can go to their website and look and see because they have tons of groups on there. And I mean, a lot of them are virtual. Some might be in your own city, but now with COVID-19 and the whole mask issue, and they may have disbanded the groups and gone online temporarily. So I know that there's a lot that are online as well already. Anyway, they operate online all the time. That's just what they do. And so yeah, it's just so it's hard. Like I say, just make sure you reach out. And there's also groups on Facebook and stuff. I belong to almost all the survivor groups on Facebook, a lot of them, because they'll send me an invite or whatever, or I'll see somebody's part of that group and they'll send me an invite, and I get tons of invites, and they actually really help. They really are. And you just be protective about your information. Be careful what you share and watch where you're sharing it. Depends on how the people are and how trustworthy the group is. Most of those groups have a moderator, somebody who's watching the posts, make sure that people are not, hurting survivors, because then you don't want to have somebody do something like that to you, because then that's just more victimization. We've already been victimized, so we don't want that anymore, right? And the anxiety for the masks, yeah, that's an issue. The masks are a real problem for a lot of survivors of abuse. Not all, but some. And I've heard that from a lot of my survivor friends. And they don't cause me any anxiety, but I can't breathe with it on, so I don't like wearing it. I just don't breathe. Like, my breathing is horrible anyway, so I don't really like to wear it. But for some survivors, it does cause anxiety. It's a real problem. Um, well, and that's why I like online group supports, and that's kind of why, because you're in the, if you can do it, like for me, I'm in the comfort of my own place. There's nobody around. I don't have to go out to this group because it's cold in Canada. It's really cold up here, and I don't want to have to go out in minus 35 weather to go to a support group meeting. So I'd prefer to do something online just so I don't have to deal with trying to travel an hour across my city somewhere in minus 35 weather to try to get to a meeting. Weekly, I probably wouldn't do it. So if it's minus 35 out, I'm like, I don't want to go out there. And right now it's not minus 35, it's actually quite nice, but the winter is cold up here. So I tend to like stuff that's online. It just works for me. And then I don't have to go anywhere to do this. I can just show up at the meeting. It's done. I've got all my papers here. I'm not trying to get somewhere. Some people like the physical aspect of actually sitting in the meeting with other people, and that's fun. That's cool. I mean, that's great. Like if, to be honest with you, if we had an ASCA local meeting here where I live, I'd probably attend it, and I'd go through the minus 35 weather, and I'd go because I'd probably go just so that I could be part of that physical community of that support group. Probably very, very therapeutic, and but online works too. But you just have to find a group that works for you. That's all. Something that works with what you need, right? Like we said, we're all different, all have different needs, and what works for one of us may not work for another. So it's just a matter of just reaching out, I think. And the Facebook groups are a good way to start doing that, because if you've never really done that, and you're kind of like not sure how that would go, instead of joining a group, you can actually join a Facebook group, just for instance. Survivors Facebook, there's tons of survivors Facebook groups that are active, tons of them. They have moderators, they watch the chat to make sure people aren't being abusive. The minute they are, they're gone. I think they get reprimanded, and then they get told off, and then if they keep doing it, they're gone. They won't tolerate that stuff at all. So you can feel safe in there to post and share it's just almost like being part of a group support thing. Do your share. Most people will be very caring with their comments back to you. It's like, we're so sorry you went through that. You didn't deserve that. This sort of thing. It just makes you feel good to get support. You might make some good friends, that know where you've been and know how hard it is, right? So that's why it's so important. I really push it, to get help. And if you're not ready to start a healing journey, only you can be, the person to decide that. You're the only one that can actually make that decision. Nobody else can make that for you. We all know we have to have this sort of inside feeling that whether we're really ready to do something like that or not. Am I ready? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, you'll know, because the minute you're kind of brave enough to reach out and join that support group is sort of what's saying, okay, I'm ready. But if you have second thoughts and you're just like, no, don't push yourself to do this sort of stuff. It takes time, and sometimes it takes time to think about these things and decide what's going to be good for us and what's not. Hi, Cynthia. How are you? I hope your day is going well. And yeah, I mean, these videos, I'm using StreamYard. You can see that little thing up in the top over here. StreamYard's free, 20 hours a week. You can do 20 hours a month. Sorry, 20 hours a month. You can do 20 hours worth of video, and you can put it wherever you want, on your Facebook, on your. Can't do more than one if you have a free account. Like, they will let you broadcast one place, but you can choose either your Facebook or your wherever they go. All over they have several different places they hook up with, YouTube and whatnot, and it's a great format. Um, you know. And it's I mean, it's been very healing for me to do this because then I don't feel alone. And just stuffing all this stuff, it's like it allows me to, get it out there. And also, for child abuse prevention, the videos, the actual video work that I did, a lot of that was child abuse. Child abuse prevention is up to us, and stuff like that. And that really, I was glad to do that because I'm like, I love to work to stop prevent child abuse. Right now, I'm volunteering with Advocates United for Humanity. Those are my two advocate sisters. We're not sisters, but we just call each other sisters because we've been best friends for a long time. We've been working on a lot of projects together way back since 2009, and Dream Catchers for Abused Children is where we met. So And since then, we've just continued to keep working. So we got our own not-for-profit, and we were, it was all unpaid. We're not getting paid to do all this stuff. But what we want to just be one more set of people making a difference to work to stop and prevent child abuse. So that's where my book money is going to go. And so any books that are bought, I don't get the money for that. I just donate it to not-for-profit. So it goes for programs and stuff like that. And that makes me feel better. It makes me feel like something good to come out of this abuse, right? Of what happened to me, which makes me feel a lot better. And yeah, I mean, I just say whatever works for you. This was very healing, therapeutic for me to do this stuff, to reach out. And all the stuff that I do, all my video work, I find it very healing for me. That's why I do it. But it's not just for me, it's also for other survivors. So, because I do care. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing something else. I obviously do care about people very much. And because I know it's so hard and so tragic what we went through, all of us. And we do need somebody that understands where we've been. We really do. And how hard it is, and how hard it was for us to get through that and survive it. And so that's why, I just do these because I do care about people very much. And that's why I want to start those support groups again as well. Like I said, I had to cut them off in 2018 because that was about just a couple months before my husband passed away. And I mean, he was really sick. It was bad. And I just couldn't focus on the group and do all that stuff. And I knew that after he passed away, I was going to be going through a lot of grieving and grief work. So I grieved for a long time after he passed away. I had to go through that grief work. So I'm okay now. I'm fine. But it did take me over a year. It took me a year and a half to go through that grief work and actually mourn his loss. And so I knew that was going to be a problem. That's why I had to stop the group. So I'm going to start it back up again. And well, thank you, Amarillo. I appreciate it. This is so many people have helped me out. And I haven't ever spoken to David Seltzer, but I've heard of him. And I don't even know if I read his book. I might have years ago. I don't even remember now. Oh, David Peltzer. Yeah, Peltzer. Yeah, I have never spoken to him, no. But I've seen some stuff on him and over the years, so I know who he is. Yeah, if we did a live together, that'd be really cool, actually. I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of survivors of abuse. And on my website, my Born in Well Hell website, that's author Laurie Smith. .weebly.com. That's my website. I have a section there. It's if you go to the top and you look at the things that are all along the top of the website, there's a lot of drop-down menus. These websites are always tricky. The drop-down menus, and one actually says guest interviews. I've interviewed a lot of guests that were survivors of abuse, that are survivors of abuse over the years with my Blog Talk Radio program. So they're all audio. But I've done a few videos. One I did with Maureen Rule here just recently, and she's an author and she's a survivor, and she's a friend, good friend. And so, I like to do those interviews. I really do. I'm going to be doing that for AU4H. So we'll be working with doing some more interviews with them. We've got quite a few people we're hoping that we can get on, to bring on. But I've done interviews on other people's shows too, like Gail Crabtree. I've been on hers a couple of times. And oh, hi, Robin. I saw your question. I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm sorry. It's nice to see you. I'm working on going through the comments slowly. It takes time to do that because I don't just want to answer, thanks, great to see you, wonderful. I'm literally reading the comments and, answering them as if I was talking to you, sitting in a room someplace, having a coffee or something. Body memories, it's a issue that not all survivors of abuse probably have. I don't know if it doesn't probably have to be attached to like PTSD sort of thing. Some people, actually survivors of trauma of any type, but I know many, many survivors of abuse, whether it's domestic violence or child abuse, whatever, survivors of abuse who have body memories. And that's just the trauma experienced in the body all over again. So body memories, instead of the brain memories, like in your mind, memories in your mind, the body will sometimes store memories itself. So in other words, I could, in my mind, I could remember the trauma from the abuse, but then my body feels it as well, what it felt like at the time. That's a body memory. So it's almost, even more traumatic than just the mind remembering something if the body remembers it as well. So not all survivors have an issue with that, and not everybody. I mean, we all have different, you know, issues that we're dealing with. But for me, I did have a lot of body memories of the abuse, but not until after, well, about, I'd say, the age of 30. So it sort of all sort of happened later in life for me. Before that, I was just busy trying to live and wasn't really even thinking about the abuse so much. I just was having such a horrible life as an adult because of the abuse that I suffered, and always struggled. And so at the age of 42, when I sort of hit my lowest point ever, I realized that I seriously needed to reach out and get some help. So I'm glad that I did. I'm really glad. That's why I do these shows, because it's like, you know what? Don't let yourself be destroyed by this. You did not deserve it, right? Yeah, body memories. That's what they are. You can look it up online if you have the internet, if you have a telephone, if you have internet on your phone, or whether you have a PC or whatever. You can actually look it up, and there's articles on it. Yeah. And just type in abuse-related body memories or something, anything like that. It will actually come up, and you'll be able to read some interesting articles about it, and also maybe some ideas to how to help and cope from that. Because I had to learn how to stop those from coming. So, and I did a lot of work. Um, if you like, I could go back and probably find that material of what I used to actually get rid of that. But a lot of it was a lot of self-care, self-soothing, this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things you can do to get help, but you can look online and they'll probably have all sorts of really great articles that will give you some suggestions, on what to do to sort of help yourself with that. And because not like I said, some survivors say that they don't have them, and that's fine, that's good. Some survivors do say they've had them, and you know that's bad. But like, just because we do or don't doesn't mean, we're better or worse than anybody else. The issue is that some people just don't have them, and that's wonderful. And for me, I don't have them anymore because I've kind of now worked through this stuff. Like, it did take me a long time, like I said. Took me a long time, but it's good because as long as progress is made, that's really all that counts. So that's where I'm at there. It's a bit on an hour. I guess I'll go ahead and cut this one off. I wish you guys a really wonderful day. I'll be on, I do biblical stuff here too, like I said, but I don't mix it with one child abuse survivor to another because it doesn't need to be mixed with one child abuse survivor to another. And if anybody's interested in watching my biblical stuff, you can. I'll be on tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. And then I'll do Tuesday, we'll be back on with the one child abuse survivor to another, the continuation. That's what I'm calling it, the continuation. And there's several series from that. I have all these different series from one child abuse survivor to another. But this is the one that I'm going to call the continuation. That we're just looking at the Survivor to Thriver workbook from the ASCA, and we're going to just read from it word for word. They allow that because they want people to use it, and as long as you don't make money off of it or try to change it and say that you wrote it, sort of thing, then you can use it publicly. They don't mind. And so we'll just take a look at it, and I'll just talk through it. So for people that aren't sure what it's all about, but like I said, you can get that for free on their website. And if you don't want to download it, you don't have to. I think they have it set up as web pages. They used to. You can just click on it and read it right online if you don't want to download it, and or you can print it. So that's what we'll be doing Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. So whatever you do, take really good care of yourselves. I hope that you have a good weekend. I wish you all the best. And thank you for being with me. I really appreciate it. I don't feel so lonely. I've been doing these shows by myself for years. And, this has been so nice to have you all with me. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your support and your kindness and your friendship towards me. And if I can help you, get a hold of me. You can contact me here. Like, you can get my info from YouTube. Just go to the About section of my email address is there, and or you can contact me. If you see the chat, it should be in there as well. And if you need help finding resources or anything, let me know, because I'm always willing to do that. People have done that for me. I'm willing to do that. If I can possibly help, I will. So have a wonderful day. Take really good care of yourselves. Be good to yourself. Be kind to yourself, you know. And if you're struggling and you can't cope and you just can't get through like the next 5 seconds, you pick up that phone and you call a crisis line. And you stick it out and be here with us. Do not give up. Not ever. That's my main message. Don't do it. Because every day that I wake up is a slap in my abuser's faces. I'm still here. And that makes me really happy. So I want you to stick it out too and get help so that you're not struggling and suffering on your own. Oh, that's wonderful, Amarillo. Congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I just wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Till next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.